everybody. It's Sherry, and welcome back to Alleged Actually podcast. Happy Monday, everybody. Today is our recap day for Married to Medicine. So we're going to get into it. Guys, before we get into it, let me just say this real quick. I know a lot of you guys have asked a little bit about how we came to be Alleged Actually, right? And so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of feedback on the background of how we got here. And so me and my daughter, Bria, who is my co-host, every day when we get off work, we would call each other and just go at it about the shows we watch. And y'all, some of the commentary was hilarious. We're very opinionated women. She learned that from her mama. And so with that being said, here goes the birth of Alleged Actually. We've been wanting to do, we weren't sure how we wanted to do it, whether we were going to just do a podcast or a YouTube channel or both, but that's how we got here. And so we're just very elated at all the support that we've received since we have dropped our content. We're going to keep going. Thank you guys so much. This weekend, we reached 1,000 subscribers. We are now currently at 1.18K. So we're a little bit over 1,100 subscribers. And we are just full. We really are so appreciative and so excited. So not going to go any more into that other than thank you guys so much. And, as we get into our next goal, our next big goal is 5,000. So if you guys would keep sharing, liking, and those of you that haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that notification button. So you're the first to get our videos when we upload them. That's that good content. You get it first, right? Yeah. So anyway, let's get into Married to Medicine, guys. It was a good episode. It really is a lead into what looks like it's going to be the real tea next week. Yeah, it's got that cliffhanger wanting us want more, and that's what it's supposed to do. But this week was kind of giving, so I'm here for it. Let's get into it. We open up with Dr. Simone with her patient who is talking about her journey in breastfeeding. Actually, not just breastfeeding and bottle feeding, which is a big deal. I don't know how many ladies out there that are our listeners that have breastfed their child. And God forbid, if you had taken a break to also bottle feed the baby, that could impact your milk flow. So the fact that she was able to do both was indeed surprising. And, I'm here for it. So Dr. Simone is impressed. It is impressive. Then we go on over to Phaedra. She is in party planning mode. Little Aiden, or really not little anymore. Big Aiden is turning 13, guys. Those of us that are fans of Real Housewives of Atlanta have watched this baby grow up right before our eyes. So this was a bittersweet moment. But yeah, she is planning Aiden's 13th birthday. And so, honey, her party planner said that the bill was going to be about 70K. And she was like, okay. Y'all, that's boss mentality right there. Now, I do for mine, but $70,000 on a party. Child. Anyway, go ahead, Miss Parks. Then we go over to see Dr. Heavenly. She has none other in her seat than Sweet Tea. Sweet Tea is in her chair to get what's called a contour on her gums. Now, I'm not trying to be shady from what I've seen with her smile, something should be done, but I'm not sure what a contour on her gums, what that means. And so I'm going to look it up and not to be shady, but when I come back next week, we'll talk about exactly what a contour on your gums actually is, because I really don't know. But anyway, so she asked if she has the card or does she need to call Dr. G to get the payment. She says you need to call Dr. G. And then Dr. Heavenly shadily says, well, Quad had the cards. Dr. Heavenly. Really? Anywho, then we go over to Dr. Eugene. Dr. Eugene has set a date up for Toya that maybe finally will please her, Miss Ungrateful to Medicine. Child, he has arranged a beautiful date at a florist where they can come together and make their own bouquets. Because Toya loves beautiful flowers. And I don't know if you guys watch it, but there's plenty of times you see her putting live flowers in bouquets in her kitchen. And, she loves flowers. So that's a really sweet date. And he comes in, he gets the two ladies that are there on board with what he's doing. Toya shows up, he has champagne. She shares with the two ladies that are instructing them on how to build these beautiful bouquets. And the date commences. And Toya is actually very happy. For once, she's not complaining, guys. Good job, Dr. Eugene. You finally, not that you finally got it right, you finally were able to please your wife. But anyway, basically, they go on. Dr. Eugene says to her that he decided that he wanted to do this date because instead of buying her flowers, he thought it would be a good idea for them to make their own arrangements. And I thought that was really sweet. Says he wants to get back to doing things in the daytime when they're both off and when the boys are out doing their thing. And so he said it's a lot of fun. They had a good time. Toya was cognizant this time of the fact that Simone had shared with her how Dr. Eugene had shared that she was hard to please, and she didn't want him to think that she was hard to please. And so she gave him this time a 10 out of a 10. And okay, y'all. So he got it right, but he had it right before, Toya. But at least you're listening, girl. Moving on. They're getting ready for an event that Dr. Damon is heading up, and it's called the Medicine or the Medical Mixer event. And it's going to take place at that same place that the guys were at when they were smoking cigars. It's that Cigar City Club in Atlanta. I like listening or like kind of noting the places they go to. So next time I'm in the city, I might like go take a visit. I was there last June. And yeah, so I'm getting me another roster because Atlanta, that's a little hump for a drive. It's a quick flight. And so I'll be back, child. And I'll be sampling these places that you guys like highlight on your shows. So not that I'm a cigar girl, because I probably won't go there, but some of the other ones, yeah. Anywho, so the intent of this event is to bring personal injury attorneys together with um, doctors that specialize in pain medicine, chiropractors of that sort. Dr. Damon says basically that he gets on the mic and he says basically that there's a lot of like really heavy traffic in Atlanta that lends to a lot of car accidents, which lends to sometimes people really getting hurt, God forbid. And he wants them to make a difference. So the attorneys that take the cases would in fact be able to refer them to, particularly in Dr. Damon's case, his pain clinic and or his pain medicine practice. And then, like I said, there were chiropractors in the room, one of which was coming from Miss Phaedra. But it makes sense. Isn't that good networking, y'all? I like the idea. The concept was great. Everybody was in attendance other than Dr. Eugene, who had to work. And I think everybody else was there. Yeah. Dr. Simone, Cecil, Phaedra, Dr. Alicia, Dr. Kimma, Dr. Heavenly, of course, she was wearing that dress, child. What did y'all think of her dress? I mean, it's not Dr. Heavenly. It came from Phaedra's store and it screamed Phaedra. But Dr. Heavenly, she didn't really pull it off. It kind of gave me 1920s flapper dress or Harlem Renaissance. In the right event, it would have been proper. I just don't think it was the right event for it. Nonetheless, honey, Dr. Heavenly was in it. Dr. Simone wasted no time in letting them know that it was just a wee bit too small. I don't know that it was too small. I mean, Heavenly was filling it out nicely, but I don't think it was the right dress for her man's event, not a professional mixer event. Mm-mm. At any rate, Phaedra is in the building. She's single and ready to mingle. Dr. Heavenly does her thing. In the building is a chiropractor that she is trying to get in with Miss Phaedra. Child, he is creepy, creepy, creepy. He comes up all looking at her like she's a snack. Ew. Somehow it comes up how he plays the drums, child, and then he comes back and says, "Yeah, I like to play those drums." Looking at her hind part, y'all. That's gross. No, sir. Bye. Um, Way too forward. And Phaedra proceeds to look extremely uncomfortable and decides that she's going to be here for looking for the younger guys. I agree with you, Phaedra. So Dr. Damon takes the mic, and in this moment, he and Dr. Heavenly has to get the people all the way together because they are not listening at first, and you know she don't play about daddy. So she gets on the mic and she lets everybody know that Damon is trying to get everybody's attention, and he starts to speak and he gives Heavenly her flowers, telling her that she's been his biggest supporter. And they go back into the confessional and he talks about, and you see a picture of them back when they were in college. It was really cute. But he talks about how Heavenly was kind of like the homie, but the homie that was cute, she wanted to date, but she still wanted to hang out with. So, I mean, not mad. She was the best of both worlds. Ladies, sometimes we have to wear many hats for our men. And I'm not mad at Heavenly for realizing that's what that man wanted. So she's the girl that you can hang with like a dude, but you're cute enough. They see you as a woman, and they kind of are feeling you all the way around. Child at work, kudos to Dr. Heavenly. Um, so she then decides that she's going to put on her different hat. You know, Dr. Heavenly, honey, y'all know she claims herself to be a relationship expert. So she calls Phaedra to the front. hmm And then she tells everyone that Phaedra is single, and she calls out um, basically to see if anyone in the building is interested. That's embarrassing. So two of the guys step up. They come forward. Child, I'd be mortified. But anyway, that was antics for days. But Phaedra was just kind of like, child. So anyway, then we focus on the ladies. So Dr. Simone is letting them know. Well, I take that back. So Dr. Simone and they are all together, all the ladies, and she asked Dr. Alicia if Dr. Kim has a newfound respect for her since she came back from Napa Valley. Now, guys, remember when she was at Napa Valley with the other ladies, Dr. Kimma had to take care of the kids by herself, seemingly for the first time, child. But that little girl was big. I mean, I see the baby was kind of young, but the little girl looked like she's about at least 3. You ain't never kept them kids by yourself. But we already know how Dr. Kimma gets down. Anyway, basically she says, yes, he definitely did have a new respect for her and what she did. And, you know, um, her contribution as a mom and what she brings to the table with those kids. But she says, she goes into confessional and she's like, yeah, I wonder in 2 weeks, is he still going to feel that way? Meaning, child, amnesia is a real thing. And in 2 weeks, you know, once he's back in his routine, will he even care? Probably not. So then Toya takes her opportunity to pipe in and tell Dr. Alicia about the antics of Dr. Kimma when he was with the guys at said cigar lounge, talking about how American women talk too much and have too much going on, too much power, and the men are emasculated, and their men didn't have balls, child. She says that, you know, yeah, she wants her to know. And Dr. Alicia said, well, yeah, it's an ongoing discussion in their house, being as how Dr. Alicia was raised by a single parent. And by single parent is single mom. She said she was raised that, when you need to do something, you get it done on your own. Like, basically, you don't even need a man. And so that's kind of like their controversy, right? And said, um, basically, she went in confessional and said, look, don't get me wrong, honey. I respect my king. And she used that word, king. She said, but she still gets her way. And we pan back to Toya, who says, child, he is just too difficult to take care of. And Dr. Alicia comes on in and gives a little shade to Toya, saying, well, he is very opinionated, just like you. And then you see Toya's face kind of get crazy, kind of looking at her like, what's this? So then Dr. Alicia's back in the confessional, and she says when it came to them, they were out of control. And when they see someone like her respect her man, they want to make a mockery of it. I don't know if that's true. Toya doesn't seem to respect Eugene all that much, but I don't know that Heavenly definitely respects Dr. Damon. Simone, her and Cecil, I don't know. Dr. Jackie and Curtis, child, since they got back together, child, we don't see enough to get anything to gauge off of. I don't know. Sweet Tea, child, she knew, so she's on the bandwagon. I don't know. But anyway, Dr. Alicia basically comes back. They come back to the group, and Dr. Alicia tells Toya her and Dr. Kima are alike. She says they're both opinionated, and what they says goes. So she's basically telling Toya the same critique you have for my husband might be the same critique you need to have for yourself. Oops. You heard it here, Toya. Check yourself. Well, then Dr. Simone gets a chance to announce to the group that they're going on a trip. And it's going to be a couples trip. And not just any couples trip. It is a 10-year anniversary for the OGs. 10 years they've been doing these trips, child. And she's uber excited. But then she lets it slip where they're going. Hilton Head, South Carolina. The scene of the crime for Dr. Jackie and Curtis. And Curtis, it's like his whole spot was blown up with the mistress there and Hilton Head. Dr. Jackie, I'm so sorry, Dr. Simone. Epic fail. How you gonna be a good girlfriend and not know that is the place where said incident took place? Child, it took less than a hot second for Dr. Heavenly to get all that tea and be like, no ma'am. And so she's like, She asked Dr. Simone if she asked Dr. Jackie if that was okay with her. And Dr. Jackie says, so Simone's like, Jackie, is it okay with you? And Dr. Jackie says, I'd rather go to Myrtle Beach. Okay. After that statement, y'all, I want to know, North Carolinians, South Carolinians, those that frequent Myrtle Beach, pipe in. Since when was Myrtle Beach the ghetto, child? I didn't know. I like to go to a good Myrtle Beach. It's a good little getaway for us. The ghetto? Child, anyway, honey, they don't miss a beat because Dr. Jackie comes back and says, or Dr. Simone comes back and says, well, honey, the trip is planned. There seems to be a lot of remorse there on your part, Dr. Simone. Your good girlfriend is letting you know that she's pretty traumatized by Hilton Head, but you're like, the trip is planned, man. What you gonna do? So Jackie basically says, let me talk to Curtis about it. So the next scene we see is Dr. Jackie driving up to her house to chat with Curtis about this trip. And honey, she whips up in there and he's basically like, you're late. Typically, you're supposed to be home at 2:30. And at this time, I think the timestamp on the it seems like 3:50 p.m. So then she mentions, well, the brat was late. I had to wait on her because she got off the radio late. Y'all, is the brat really Dr. Jackie's storyline? Because good Lord, she was there last weekend, the other scenes, whatever, her and Judy, her wife. Dr. Jackie, really? I guess the brat really is her storyline this season. Because really, he just name dropped her. Like, let the brat done had a baby, but I mean, for this particular season, when she was on the end of her pregnancy, okay, we get it, man. That must have been your premium patient because she keeps coming up. Anyway, she sits down and she talks to Curtis about the upcoming trip. She lets him know that Dr. Simone has planned a trip and she wants to know what he's doing. He's prepping for his next trip to DR. Shocker. Because remember, guys, like we said, we haven't really seen him film with Dr. Jackie. I mean, to that episode he did, but it still was kind of like a lead in from almost again like another guy's night. He was at front and center at Dr. Damon's event, but you don't see like the other women any private time between the two outside of confessional talk. I don't know. And I'm wondering, is it just me? Or are you guys wondering, are we going to see more in the reunion? Because we've already seen the lineup of how they're sitting right beside Andy. On one side is Dr. Jackie, on the other side is Dr. Simone. So, child, that usually means when you sit closest to Andy that you had the most storyline. And since they clearly did not, I mean, I guess they're going to make them bring it at the reunion. And child, I don't know, but we're going to be tuning in and we're going to bring you that tea. But I'm really confused. At any rate, child, he says, he's getting ready to go back to DR, and she asks when, and he's like, within the next week. And she's like, well, we have a trip on the 8th, and he's like, well, you should have gave me a heads up. And she lets him know, kind of a last minute thing on Dr. Simone's part. And then she tells him basically what it's about, the whole couples thing or whatever. And his thing is, he doesn't really want to go because he doesn't want to open a can of worms. They're getting along. He just, and Dr. Jackie, I think, is on the same page because from her perspective, even though some of the OGs, like your Dr. Heavenly's and your Dr. Simone's with Curtis and Damon, would never bring up what they've been through. But then, I mean, Toya's OG, but let's be clear. Toya would bring it up. Sweet Tea, Phaedra. I don't even know if Phaedra's going on a couples trip. We'll have to wait and see. That's interesting because she's not a couple. But when they had a couples trip before, Quad got to come. So we'll see. Anyway, they're in a good place, as we stated, and Curtis kind of really is just concerned that he just wants them to stay there. Understandable. So then we go over to sweet little Aiden's 13th birthday. So everybody's coming, and Phaedra has spared no expense. This is a 13-year-old's dream. It is a boys' extravaganza, like food, games, basketball. I mean, everything. So the first ones to arrive are Sweet Tea and Dr. G. And Sweet Tea is here for all of it, saying she cannot wait to have kids. Child, she is ready to do this and more when she has hers. Dr. G is on board saying, if you can afford to do it, do it. It was gorgeous. The rest of the ladies come in and their spouses, except for Jackie at the point. And so Toya is like, yo, this is my kind of party. Matter of fact, this is better than my parties. And it is. Toya, come on. $70,000 budget you did not have, ma'am. Not hating, because neither did I. You give a kid a great birthday party without spending $70K, but give it to Phaedra's. It was on point. The ladies get together at the bar. So that was Sweet Tea, Dr. Heavenly, Dr. Simone, And basically, Heavenly brings up about the, you know, what they think that, well, they only just get together and they're getting ready to start discussing this trip, but they are interrupted because there's an entrance. Her Phaedra Parks, all of her pageantry. The trumpeter Milkshake Mayfield comes out and he does his thing. And then it's announced by none other than Dwight. Again, Real Housewives of Atlanta fans, we haven't seen Dwight in a minute. And I wouldn't have recognized him, honestly, if they not put under there it was Dwight. But Dwight looked good, y'all. He's had a little work done, a little something. He was in his garb. He announces the Queen Mother and Mr. President. So Phaedra and Dylan come out. Now, my peeps, what did y'all think about Phaedra's outfit? Because I thought it was a little inappropriate. I mean, when Sis came out, I was like, is she wearing pants? They were flesh color leggings, to be fair. What a cute little top, but man, do you have to come out looking like your hind parts is out? Because that's what it looked like. Not for your son's 13th birthday when there's a ton of 13-year-old boys, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 20 child, whatever. Hold on, respect your son. Phaedra, I don't like that. Anywho, so then you see Phaedra basically come out and she's in confessional and saying, look, she does not skimp on her kids. They're her pride and joy, child. I feel you. Same. Love mine. Yeah, you know, my lovely co-host is none other than my daughter, and I have 2 sons. And honestly, whenever I can, I try to give back and spoil them, particularly when they were younger. They're grown now, but mama still does it, child. When they accomplish something, I want to. And like they say, if you can afford to, you should, right? Right. That's where we're at. Shout out to Bria, Amir, and Nigel. Anywho, so she's basically like, you know, her boys have been through a lot and they deserve a lot. And when she can afford to spoil them, she's gonna, and she should. Because we all know that Apollo, their dad, did go to prison. And I know it was probably very traumatic for those boys. So there's that. Toya being messy says, you know, when they bring out Aiden, which they do after they announce Phaedra and Dylan, Aiden comes out. He's all like hyping the crowd. He's so grown up, y'all. He's so handsome and so grown up. It's so sweet. But Toya's like, where's his dad? And then she kind of backtracks and she's like, well, if I spent, you know, if I was the one that was footing the bill, I guess I wouldn't care either. But then she goes on to say, but, you know, if he in fact is a good father, I think he should have been here. Now, to be fair, I agree. Co-parenting wise, it was a big deal. Maybe he should have been there, but you guys don't know how they co-parent. So if he couldn't, he couldn't. If he's not, maybe he'll do his own party with Aiden later. I don't know. And maybe she just didn't want Apollo on the show. Maybe she didn't want to film with him. I'm not mad at that either. So anyway, then we go over to Cecil. He's brought his brother Dave, honey. Dave done come on out to the party, ain't got no wedding ring on. Daughter Heavenly is still sniffing out a man for Phaedra. So the first thing she asked when she meets Mr. Dave was, are you married? And he says, yes. And she was like, well, why you ain't got no wedding ring on? And he's like, well, I got too fat. She's like, well, honey, Damon wears his wedding ring, honey. It's $80. She's like, do I need to give you $80 so you can get you a ring? He was like, yeah. Do y'all know ma'am went in her pocketbook and brought out some cash and handed it to sir? And he took it. Dr. Heavenly is real in these streets about her relationship expertise. I mean, she is not trying to let any unhappy home be broken up. Listen, she gave the man that money for his ring. But he couldn't keep them eyes off of Miss Phaedra's hind part. So I don't know if her money is good here or not. So basically, she kept saying, Phaedra, he's married. Phaedra's laughing. He was like, yep, thank you for saving me. She was like, yeah. And you could see them eyes go right back to her hind parts. So much so that you see Miss Phaedra in her confessional stating that in Atlanta, honey, married men want to be single and the single men want to be married. There's nothing normal in this city. Child, I ain't all I heard about Atlanta, but we'll save that for another day. We get on out. Dr. G greets Dr. Kimma and says they're both off work this weekend. And they're like, yeah, Dr. Kimma's like, that's how it is when you have your own business, AKA your own practice. I ain't mad at that. So then Dr. G goes on to talk about how Sweet Tea makes him breakfast in the morning. And you see the ladies from a table not too far away looking on. And Dr. Heavenly wants to know what Dr. Kima is saying because it bothers her, honey. Because all the husbands done went back and told their wives the craziness Dr. Kima was talking last week about how American women have too much freedom, child, and they cutting the men's nuts off. Listen, Dr. Heavenly says he's saying the wrong things over there, and she don't know if old girl has, knows any better to make him stop it. Then Dr. G says, you go back to the guys, and Dr. G remarks that he's a traditional guy. He's all about bringing home the bacon and having a wife to support him on the side. And you see Dr. Kim just grinning like, so you feel me? Ciao. Dr. Heavenly didn't ask the ladies if they're ready for the couples trip. And Dr. Simone says she's excited about the couples trip. And Heavenly asks, being messy, what made her decide to go to Hilton Head. And she said because it was trying to get everyone's schedule together. She wanted to go to a place that wasn't too far from Atlanta. And the other places that included were for consideration were Savannah, Georgia, Biloxi, Mississippi. And Dr. Heavenly says she was more worried about Jackie and how she was feeling. So then you see Dr. Heavenly go into confessional where she is asked by a producer, why does she think Simone won't change the location of the trip? And Dr. Heavenly remarks, because Dr. Simone is stubborn. Heavenly was like, she can easily change the location, but she cannot change what happened with Curtis. And so you see Heavenly come back and say, does she think it was a good idea? But at this point, they are interrupted because it's time to cut the cake at the party for little Aiden, or I keep saying little Aiden, or Aiden, big, not little, Aiden. So Aiden goes up, blows his candles out, this beautiful multi-layered cake, because y'all know Phaedra spares no expense. And after he does, Phaedra talks about how 13 is a rite of passage, and it is for a young man. They're not little boys anymore, and they're on their way to being a man, young teenager. And she was saying how surreal it was because she said it seemed like just yesterday she was waddling around pregnant with him and not knowing what it would be like to be a parent. I can so relate. And what's so cool, again, watching her on Real Housewives of Atlanta, she came on the scene basically pregnant, lying about her pregnancy, how far along she was, nonetheless pregnant. And we got to witness her give birth to beautiful little Aiden and watch him grow. How cute and smart is this young man? Adorable. She talks about how her and Aiden have a special relationship. They flash back to when he was born, when he was a baby, when he would say those cute little things like his little alligator pie scene. And then when she was about to drop him off for his first day of school, y'all, I'm a softie. It did it for you, girl. I had tears coming out my eyes. Child, I was putting me a four-corner Candace triangle, and I was dabbing them eyes. It was just a lot for your girl because I have sons and I have kids, period. They grow fast. So for those of you guys out there that have little ones, hold them tight because when you blink, they'll be out of the house. Just saying. So she was saying that Aiden, when Apollo went to jail, went to prison, that he had basically became real protective of her and stepped up as the man of the house. And though they clearly have a parent-child relationship, they were really good friends. So they have a very special bond, which is clear when Aiden takes the mic after he does his cake cutting, blowing out the candles. He tells his mom that she's his rock and that her love is overwhelming at times, which is sweet. But he says he understands that's just her. He talks about how she cried more when he got his stitches than he did. Moms, don't we though? Because when our babies hurt, Lord knows, don't it get you right in the child? I can't. I don't even want to get emotional on here tonight, but y'all know what I'm saying? Anyway, it was the sweetest. Oh God, y'all. That was a great scene. It was. But Dr. Jackie comes on the scene. She comes to the party late. And at this point, Dr. Heavenly asks if she can talk to Simone by herself. And Dr. Jackie joins. And she basically says, how things are going. So Dr. Simone tries to hush Dr. Heavenly and checks in with Jackie and wants to know if she's good with going to South Carolina. Dr. Heavenly tries to jump in there, but she tells her to pipe down. And Dr. Jackie says her husband really doesn't want to go. She says they're in a good place and he just doesn't want to go there and open that can of worms. So Dr. Heavenly takes her chance and she asks Simone to own something. And did she think it was a good idea? Dr. Simone is so irritated. And y'all, we see Screaming Simone again. Because remember how I said, before, like in Napa, how she had kept her volume at a low. Honey, she done back to the decibels over here. Child, she's screaming. Can't talk without screaming. Screaming that she does. So she's like, She's like, you better tell your bulldog. And she kind of trails off, letting Jackie know, get her. Dr. Jackie says, let me say this. She says she's definitely in a great space. And she says, but that means she doesn't want to go backwards. Dr. Jackie admitted hearing Hilton Head made her feel some type of way. You could tell that by her reaction. She kind of looked at her like, really? Simone says that she acts like she hasn't known Jackie for 20 plus years. Dr. Heavenly is trying to be her, gatekeeper, her watchdog. No, they're just a good friend. I don't know. Like Simone, I don't know. I mean, I really don't think Simone did it maliciously. But I think for me, after seeing her initial reaction at the cigar bar, I would have changed it, child. But she goes on to let Heavenly know she's only been around 5 to 6 years. Heavenly's like, what does that mean? And the noise level is just escalating. So they're full on arguing at this point at poor little Aiden's party. Called him little again. Big Aiden's party. Dr. Jackie exits. She's like, not doing it. And she's like, I'm going to put 2 of the oldest people at the party in timeout. And true Jackie form, she walks off as if it has nothing to do with her. When the whole argument is about her. Child, if anybody can squelch it, you can, Jackie. So walking away is going to do what exactly? Anywho, so she goes up to Phaedra and says, my 2 friends over there arguing. And Phaedra's like, what 2 friends? And she sees and she's like, well, wouldn't think they'd be arguing at a kiddie party, Then she goes on to say Dr. Heavenly would argue at the pearly gates, child. So when Heavenly and Simone decide they're going to take it further away from the party because it is getting loud, she asks Simone, look, is this really about us or is this about our friend? Simone says it's basically actually about our friend. And so at that point, um, Jackie comes back and she says, all right, I was shocked when I heard it was Hilton Head. She admits it. Like, it did make me feel a kind of way. I think she downplayed it for Simone, so Simone wasn't getting what maybe Heavenly was picking up on the clues of how Dr. Jackie was acting, whereas Simone was looking for her to verbalize it, maybe. And she said, look, if she was going with just Heavenly and Simone, she'd be fine. But knowing that the other ladies were going, she just didn't want to open herself up to them, questioning them, wanting to talk about it again, bringing it back up, throwing salt in the open wound. I get it. And so Jackie basically lets them know, look, with all that being said, if Curtis wants to go, I'll go. And that's how they kind of leave it. And then we go off to see the different couples packing. Starts off with Dr. G and Sweet Tea. She's concerned, child, that this trip might be boring. She says she looked it up on TikTok to see what there is to do in Hilton Head. Okay, my listeners that are millennials, is that a thing? Like when you're going somewhere, because I kind of Google, do y'all look it up on TikTok? And if so, what does TikTok tell you? Because maybe I'll try it. I love me some good TikToks. Anyway, Dr. G's like, well, you act like you have something against yachts. Because usually when they go to a place like that, they do charter a yacht. They do a boat thing, a boat day. And she's like, yeah, no, I'm just worried about it being boring and that they're going to end up playing Jack and Hammers. All right, so for my listeners that are a little older than me, I'm 50. What's Jack and Hammer? I was lost. I'm to Google. Anywho, we going over to Cecil and Dr. Simone. They're packing and, they're uber excited. Simone is like, this is not just any trip. We're doing 10 years of friendship. That's monumental. And so she talks about Dr. Heavenly and how things went off, but Cecil let her know that was par for the course. And she was like, yeah. And so he asked her, are you assigning rooms? And she was like, yes, but I think I want to give Dr. Jackie the master. Girl, that's the least you could do. So anyway, she just wants to make sure that everybody has fun. And then she wants to make sure they have plenty of activity so that everybody is, on point and there's not too much downtime for it to get crazy. They going over to Toya and Eugene. They're packing. They got their two boys watching them pack. Eugene's like, get out of your mama's bag, but you see something you don't want to see. Child one says, what, a condom? And the other one, I told you that was much like his mama Toya, says, nah, it probably means a vibrator. Why do young boys know what a vibrator is? Ew. And I'm old school. Forgive me, guys. They going over to Dr. Alicia and Dr. Kimma. They're packing. And the one thing, their little girl is looking on and she's like, what is the most important thing that you need to pack? And their little baby says, or little girl says, a toothbrush. She was like, yeah, because both of your parents are dentists. And Dr. Kima politely lets her know. She corrects herself and says, no, your dad's an oral surgeon. He was like, I have not spent a day doing dentistry. I have not done a day doing dentistry a day in my life. I guess it's beneath him, child. Anyway, they go back to Simone and Cecil, who are getting ready to go, and they do the little celebratory toast, and it's about to be on. Now, guys, with all that, that was the episode. But next episode proves to be the one we're waiting on. Finally, a little drama. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily delight in seeing them fight. We need a little right? So we'll be back next week to recap that episode. A few things I'm going to ask you guys to comment on. Number one, am I wrong? Was Phaedra's outfit appropriate for Aiden's party? Number two, do you guys think that Simone really knew that the Hilton Head thing would bother Dr. Jackie? And if not, don't you think she should have changed it as a good friend? Number three, did Dr. Heavenly go too hard on her? Isn't that you guys thinking her way of solidifying the fact that her and Jackie are better friends than her and Dr. Simone? I don't know. Oh. And number four, what did you guys think about Curtis? Did y'all read his body language? Did you guys see him shut that iPad like tight as a drum as soon as she sat down beside him? Put it in the comments. Let's talk about it. Ciao. Anyway, y'all, we will be back next Monday, honey, to recap our Married in Medicine, child. It's getting good. But thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I'm going to ask you to come on back on Wednesday when we're going to recap 90 Day Single Life. Thursday is Married at First Sight Denver, and then Saturday's Pop Culture Saturday. So listen, I hope you guys have a great Monday night. Thank you for tuning in and coming by to check out Alleged Actually. Come back, hit that subscribe button, y'all. Like, subscribe, and share, and put that stuff in the comments. I'll see you back on Wednesday. You guys have a great night. Bye.